Did you know that some of the most iconic photos in history were actually taken with the most basic of gear? That's right, no 50 megapixel cameras, no image stabilization, just a photographer in the moment. So let's really dive deep into the eternal debate. What really makes a great photo, the photographer or the gear that they're using? Now in photography, there's this big joke about gear acquisition syndrome, or called GAS. And it's a funny term, but it actually is very serious in photography. And it ultimately brings up this huge dilemma. Is it the gear that photographers need, or is it the actual skills behind the camera that makes a great photo? Now there seems to be a process that a lot of photographers take, and that's when you're getting started, you dream about having the best, most expensive gear, all the lenses that you actually need for photography to get out and take the actual photos that you want to take. But the thing about it is, once you get all of this stuff, your camera, your lenses, all of the gear, you have less money to travel and go take the photos and actually practice the skills that you need behind the camera to actually take the great photos that you want to get. Because without any practice in the field, you're actually not going to know how to use all that expensive stuff that you've already just bought. You may have also heard it said that the best camera for photography is the one that you have with you, where in reality, the best camera that you have for photography is the one that you're willing to take out and take the photo. More often than not, that's the most basic camera that you have access to in your bag. But could it possibly be that both of these things, both gear and skill, are what you need to take great photos in photography? Let's see how they can actually work together and not be such a debate. Now, for an appropriate case study, let's look at this photo here of a snowstorm blowing into Zion National Park. Going out and taking this photo required both gear and skill to be able to pull off the photo. Let's look at gear first. When you get up to this location, there's a massive overlook that you have in front of you. Now, with the limitations of the amount of footroom that you have, you can either use a wide angle to create an ultra wide shot, but you lose the depth of the actual size of the mountains in the background. Whereas if you use a telephoto lens, sometimes you lose how wide that the scene actually is. This causes you a little bit of limitation in gear, so you do need the gear appropriate to go out and capture this image. For this shot here, I was using a 70-200 lens at 70 millimeters, but I was shooting vertically. To get this kind of shot, I also needed a tripod, so that's another piece of gear that I needed to have with me, and also a cable release, which could be replaced by a 2-second timer on the camera. So I needed the camera, obviously. I needed the specific telephoto lens, I needed a tripod, and I needed a cable release. Now, what kind of technique and skill actually went into this? Not just composition and knowing how to compose a photo, of getting the right angles and perspective on the scene, but also imagining what the shot could be. Since I was using a telephoto lens and shooting vertically, I was losing a lot of how wide the scene actually was. So I decided to use my knowledge of panorama photography to create the wide scene, but still do it in vertical shots going across the scene using the skill of panoramas, composition, and all of that. Not to mention the technical aspects of shutter speed, aperture, and ISO that I was using, paired with the gear that I was actually using to create the image itself. So this photo is actually 5 vertical scenes going across from left to right of the scene to capture the overall image that was needed. So you can see how it is appropriate to have both gear and vision and skill to create an ultimate photo. So for 99% of photography, it's not about having the latest and greatest in gear, it's about how to use your gear in harmony with your skill and understanding of photography and what the art of photography actually is. If this helped you, I have a free landscape photography masterclass in the link below that you can watch and stream right now. Share your thoughts on this. I'd love to hear how you're photographing, what gear you're using, and your thoughts on this topic. And if you want to keep watching, be sure to subscribe and click the video playlist that's showing up on your screen right now.